To find right here on StarSpot. A lot of it will just be, some of the things that I'm doing with the Lean for You, and also some of the things that are happening with my music. And, so you'll be seeing a variety of things on this show. So today I found that, one of the most comfortable things that people can settle into regards confrontation and attention-seeking behavior. And a lot of times people don't want to look at or even acknowledge that there's some attention-seeking behaviors that they themselves have. One of the things that I first, kind of go into is looking at the whole thing with the black beard, the black hair, the eyelashes, all of these things that are usually things that you'll find in stage and theater, right? So when you say stage and theater, the first thing you think about is you're going to a show, you're watching a video, you're watching a movie, you're watching a talk show, and you kind of look at that analogy and look at to the world being a stage. The world being a stage. When you look at what people wear, what people seek to wear and desire to wear, where the idea comes from. See, as a child, when I grew up, I wasn't looking at life with that kind of a lens, because we didn't have the music videos and things that were going on in the capacity that they do today. Sure, we had shows that we watched, Soul Train, where dance, it was more of a culture seeking mindset. Like, we started looking at dancing, break dancing, and the robot and all those kind of things. And it was a whole different mindset of like, we just wanted to express ourselves, in some kind of rhythmic way. And now it has metamorphosized into so much more, where pain and suffering It seems to really be happening because you have people getting all kind of shots and different things to accentuate body parts, to to make themselves look like somebody else. And again, it's not a matter of bashing. It's a matter of attention seeking behavior. Why do you feel it necessary, to put all these kind of things onto yourself? Like, this is what I have, right? Why do I want to cover this? This is wisdom, right? This is wisdom. What you see here is wisdom. I've earned this. Why do I want to cover it? Why do I want to blacken it? And why do I want to not only blacken the hair, but I want to blacken the scalp? I need to have this particular look, right? Why is that so important? Who is it important to? Who are you doing it for? What is the reason why you're doing it? Right? My mustache has never grown completely in. I've never had a full beard. I don't have hair on the chest. I don't have those things. What's the significance in covering or giving the idea to somebody else that this is what I look like? Like, my mustache is solid black. I look like a mannequin. And listen, if you're offended by it, listen, you're offended by it. But it's a perception that is formed of you when you present yourself in this capacity. What are you trying to tell others? What are you trying to show others? Your lashes are what your lashes are. Your eyebrows are what your eyebrows are. So I understand the whole mindset of having this particular look. But what's wrong with the look that you have is what that begs the question of. Because beauty is what? See, there's a lot of definitions here in terms of being able to explain to someone else why you feel the need to, like, blacken your whole head. Changing the color of your hair is one thing. My mindset is, this is what I have. I'm good with this. Anytime I use color, I was when I was younger, when I was into that, I used color because I liked it. But then I didn't see a necessity for why I wanted my hair to be blonde-ish, brown-ish, gold-ish. I didn't, because I said, okay, well, I try it, and I dyed, and I said, well, okay, so what is the significance to me dyeing my hair? Like, I'm not on the stage. I'm not in a performance, right? A theater performance. I saw no need for it, right? But then one of the things that I do is I work out. I stay physically fit. So there you have it for me. What was the purpose for me being physically fit? Well, when I was younger, I weighed about, a good half a pound. And if I went under the fire plug, I didn't probably weigh a pound. So, being called too thin to win and all those things, I developed a higher propensity to seek physical fitness. Not because I wanted to be healthy, but because I wanted to be stronger to take on any of my so-called, opponents. They call them ops now, that. So that was a desire for me. I wanted to be stronger, and therefore I pursued, always having weights. My weight thing goes back to, I think I was about 12, 13 when I had gotten some weights because that's what I wanted to have. And I was, my mom made sure I got them. Yeah. And I used it. I worked out, dumbbells, and, I started, doing calisthenics. I started doing, different things to be fit. I did pretty good with that because my peers started calling me cocky because I was very strong. And even today, I'm very strong. Went to my doctor a few months ago and he reminded me of how strong I am and how strong I need to remain in order for me to um, enter into the latter years of life, being able to handle a lot of things that present when you get older. Accidents and, you fall, you trip, and, healing, being able to heal a lot more quicker, being able, to do walking and carrying and lifting and not be as susceptible to pain and longer duration of healing. So I looked at those things. But when you look at attention seeking behavior, like what's the cause behind it? What's the reason behind it? Why do you still continue, to seek attention? I look through the feeds and social media, and I see females with the children present, and I see the gyrating of hips and then all that other stuff, and the child is present, or the children is in the background playing, but the activity that's on screen is being presented. So what kind of attention are you looking for? Right? Because you can't make a decision that people are supposed to be thinking in the way you want them to think about what it is that you're presenting, because everybody's going to have a different thought. And even if a male looks at what it is that you're presenting, doesn't mean that male desires anything but that what you're presenting. You may think it's just being you, it's just being sexy. Somebody else is looking at it from the perspective of, I want to hit that. And then when you're approached in that capacity, right, this is where confrontation comes in. This is where the confrontation part comes in, right? Because somebody is going to say something slick out of their mouth. Somebody's going to say something that you're going to take as being offensive, but their interpretation of what you presented is theirs. It's theirs. When you see people who are always designing this and LV and all this, and they got to have all of this on them, there's a perspective formed of that person. Some will see you as, yeah, you got it going on. That's what's up. Yeah. And some will just see you as being shallow, as being materialistic. So you can't say that person is wrong because of a perspective that you presented. Everybody thinks the way they want to think. But bear in mind, because you may be called shallow because you always got to have this design and stuff on, but their best friend is not shallow who wears those same things. An entertainer is not perceived the same way because, well, entertainers should be doing that. But then we have people who walk up and down the street in the hood who are dressed like that, who can't afford that, who are the very ones complaining about, like, they don't know where the next meal is coming from. Well, if you sell that jacket, it's a good chance that y'all can eat for the month of January. So it's a whole lot of different things that get presented, and a whole lot of different messages. But who are you? Who are you trying to present to other people? Who are you trying to be? Why are you trying to be who you're not? But then when somebody questions that, you're saying, I am being myself. Right? I've never been a person, I've never hung a picture of a recording artist or anyone, an actor, anyone. I've never hung those things in my day. I never sought to be like a particular person. And even though as a child, I sang a lot of songs at home in private, right, that others sang. It was the art that I focused on, because I'm an artist. And now I'm a recording artist, right? So that's my art behind me, right? I do things of this nature. I do videos. I'm a filmmaker. I write. I'm attracted to that. So there's no one person who I sought to emulate. I've always been myself. The whole Jerry curl phase and all those things, right? So, and that was a look for me. And even though you would look at me and say, like, you look like one of my friend of mine said this. He said, "Yo, you look like one of the missing DeBarge in this picture." I just laughed because I did. But that was the culture then with the Jerry curls. I had the California curl. I did my own hair. I styled my hair my own way. You know what I'm saying? I did what I felt, not what I saw. Not what I saw. I did what I felt. Right? Not saying that I never, ever had admiration, but I've many people who I admire, right? But I'm just not, I was never chasing to be something that I saw like in TV and stuff like that. I'm a different kind of person. I'm a thinker. Like, I wanted to do music. I worked with local entertainment in Philly for some time. Over the years, I always talk about that. And, I've been an artist and I've done some artistic things for people, notable people, but it's like I've always had my own style. This is all pen and ink. This work behind me is all pen and ink. I think it was an 18 by 20 something original, right? It's all pen and ink. And I had posters created from them, right? But that's pen and ink. This picture alone took months to do. Took months. You can count every hair. You can see every grain in the ground, right? I went to school for commercial art. What I'm saying is, like, I was always one who saw it and pursued it. I wanted to self-publish my own book. I did that. I wanted to self-publish my own film. I did that. I wanted to, create this. I did that. I wanted to start a nonprofit. I did that. Right? I started a LLC. I did that. I'm doing that. Right? And some episodes of Side Spot, I'll take you into AleemForYou.net, bring you here into my new studio space. I made a larger studio space for that, where you can be able to see the merchandise firsthand. Tumblers and all that stuff is just a small thing. These tumblers like this, you will not see anywhere else. This is from my high maintenance collection. This is from the bud smokers, right? The dabblers of the bud. See, you won't find. I'm going to give you a close up that you can't. I'm on two cameras here, y'all. You won't find anything that looks remotely close to this. Nothing at all will you find remotely close to this. These are not AI generated. These are done right here in our studio, our lab. We call it lab. I got a lab in the studio. I'm trying to create the studio. You won't see this stuff, right? So you'll soon see me, online, with this merchandise, right? But you won't get any of that stuff. But that's some of the stuff that I'll be doing over time, just trying to settle some things with TikTok in terms of we're good on Amazon and a host of other platforms. We're just trying to finalize some approvals with TikTok, and you'll be seeing me on showing you all the goods that we have. But I say all that to say is that when you got a beard and you fully blacken your beard so you look like, what are you seeking to look like? And again, it's not a bash, it's a question. Because for me, an outsider looking in, I'm saying, okay, well, that don't look like a real beard. That's not, that. So what are you projecting? And again, I say this respectfully, but it's a question. It's a question. What message are you sending? What does that say about you? What does that say about you? It's a question. So it's an article. For those of you who don't know, I am a great fan, the biggest fan in the world. Have been a fan since way back when. It was in the 70s. I became a fan of Psychology Today. I think it was about late 70s, early 80s, because I would go into the doctor's office and I would see them. So while I'm sitting there waiting for the doctor, I would always peruse Psychology Today. And Psychology Today was pretty much the magazine that was almost untouched in doctor's offices. The pages weren't folded and all that stuff, because people don't really have an interest in personal growth and development. Really don't. How many people do you know who are actually walking around really trying to continue to change and improve their lives, who are really seeking to be better today than they were yesterday? How many people actually do that? Think about it. When's the last time a thought popped into your mind like, you know what, I need to change how I talk to people. I need to change my worldview. I need to stop doing all these superficial things and stop talking about I'm a real one and, become a real one. What does being a real one look like? Because when I hear real one, I'm looking at an interpretation of self that somebody has developed and called it such. I'm a real one. If I say I'm in it, I'm in it. If I say I'm down with it, I'm down with it. If I say I don't do this and I don't do that, I don't do this. And that's what a real man does. That's what a real woman does. It's just crazy how interpretations of self are not in alignment with descriptions of mankind, of a human being. All the descriptions of self go outside of what a human being is. That's your real one, a human being, a person who's being themselves, right? So people aren't really seeking to do that. People are seeking to present themselves in a capacity that is appeasing and appealing for other people in order to attract other things that are in alignment with their desires. So I have to be this in order to get that. So like being a real one, people get the hell away from you. I just want to tell you that. When you're trying to be a real one, from my perspective, people stay away from you. But most importantly, you keep people away from you who are not seeking that. And that's a real comfortable life. See, I've been a loner all my life. All of my life. Oh, yeah, I got a crew. When I was growing up, we got together, and these were people who were like-minded people. We just sat and chilled, a couple doobies here and there, a couple, rides on the night train express, the kind of 45s we carried were like that. They came in bottle form in quarts. Right? That's how I came up. See, I don't do the nonsense. Because everybody wants you to do and to be what you're not. That's going to be the expectation. So make sure you follow up with my show, Daddy's Right Here Live on Sunday. So because we got part 2 on expectations, right? We're still talking about expectations, right? So let's go to the article. So the article is by Mark E. Williams, MD. The title of the article, I told you the magazine, online magazine, the Psychology Today. Understanding attention seeking, and confrontation, right? So let's go right to it. A quote by Andrew Carnegie. As I grow older, I pay less attention to what men say. I just watch what they do. That's something that I've always done. I watch people. I observe. I assess. I analyze. Because I have to conclude what my involvement or connection with you, if any, will be. Anybody we playing ball with, you find a selfish person. Now, we ain't picking him because he just hogs the ball. Who you sitting down drinking with? Well, we just got a quart of brew, and we know what you do. right? You just go up, you double clutch, and then you hand it off. And then a lot of times you don't even put no money into nothing. You just want to be present, right? So I already know what you do. So because we cool, right? We gonna make you the runner, right? You gonna run and get because you don't like to contribute. That's gonna be your contribution. Now, the day you don't come back with it, then that's a whole nother discussion. But people have roles, and you have to learn to stop giving people the roles that they can't perform. You have to stop expecting from other people to do things that they ain't equipped to do. Right? I pay attention to everything and everybody, and I'm a Libra. For those of you who know about Libras and how we're built, right? I'm O positive, blood type. So you have to know yourself before you know other people, in order for you to be able to have a foundation of life that's worthy of living, or it's going to be full of chaos, right? So back to the article. Human transactions always seem to have an attention factor. Attention seeking and giving is present in nearly all interpersonal interactions and is a key factor in human behavior. And when you watch my shows, one of the things you're going to always find is that I'm always directing it back to you, the attention back to you. Because too many people spend time pointing fingers, wanting to blame people for their conditions, want to blame people for their behavior. Well, if you wouldn't have said this, I wouldn't have said that. No, you said that because that's who you are. That's what you wanted to do, because you're confrontational, because you don't look for a win-win situation when encountering conflict. You look for a win-lose situation. And matter of fact, it doesn't even have to be conflict. You always have to win. You always have to win. And when a person always has to win, I guarantee you that person is not seeking to learn anything. So don't waste your time. It's just some things you just have to walk away from. Like I can tell you off the top of my head, a lot of things that I have encountered involving other people that, and I'm not going to approach this situation. I'm not going to go back to it and say, hey, can we talk about, because why? Whatever, listen, when a person shows you their hand, believe it. Believe it. They ain't trading in no cards. They're not seeking to change. They're good where they are. Believe it. What I present to you, believe it. Believe it. It's a waste of time arguing with somebody over something that they said, didn't do. When I do it, it's not a mistake. It's who I am. If I tell you who I am out of my mouth or out of my actions, you have to make a decision how you want to go about this relationship. In some situations, you can't get out of it. You have to be in it. So you have to be able to look and assess as to what this is going to look like. If you are a confrontational person, you're going to find conflict all the time. If you're a self-righteous person, believe that everything you say and do is correct, you're going to be that way all the time. If you're a person who says this and does that, it's going to be that all the time, because it's that is that way for everybody. We call it cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, right? Your mouth says one thing, your actions show something else, right? It's like when you from the street, like game knows game. We know game. What is game? Cognitive dissonance. You got all of this, but then the hoorah comes, what you do? Huh? What you gonna do when the hoorah comes? Right? So we know game. I know game. I know when you're running game. I know a real one. And that's somebody who's being authentic. I'm listen, the way you see me here is the way you'll see me at work. Right? I'm a real one. For me. Not based on what you think, your definition. I'm not being any of those things for you. I'm being this for me. Because I'm being real with myself. I'm being as authentic as I can possibly be. Because you have to continue to do work on yourself. You have to continue to do a whole lot of labor. It's just like a farm, right? You have to sow these seeds and you have to watch it grow. And you have to see what benefit it has for you in your life with others. You have to see that for yourself. You have some things that are perennials. You have annuals, right? You have to understand that you have a season. That you have a season. The season is always changing. It's always changing. See, you get winter, spring, summer, and fall externally. You get that concept. But do you get the concept? Can you use that analogy within yourself? Remember your creation. Remember, if there's winter, spring, summer, and fall, right? Those 4 seasons you're familiar with. When does your winter come? And how do you react to the world around you when your winter season comes? And so on and so forth for each one of those seasons. Because remember, you're part of nature. Remember how many elements in this world are inside of you. Remember that. I think everything on the element chart, I think there's 7. I think they said there's 7. It's 7. I think it's anywhere from 6 to 8 elements that are not inside of the human being. And that's for a reason, obviously, right? But almost all of the elements that are inside of you and I, right, are found on that elements chart that we got. Remember the elements chart in school? I don't know if they still use it, right? It's always going to be used in a science class, but it should be used also in a psychology class, in a mental health class. When you start talking about the elements of the earth, wind, and fire, the elements of the universe. But when you start looking at the elements, right, of what's inside of you, when you start looking at how much electric is within you, how much power you actually have, right? When you start looking at the attributes of God that are within you, when you start looking at image and likeness made, you start looking at yourself as a human being. As long as you continue to look at yourself in the capacity that you are today, you will never see your humanity, right? All of this is significant to every relationship you have. You know, you talk about vibing with somebody, being able to vibe, being able to connect. There's a connection that's made between you and another person, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we got to get married. It doesn't necessarily mean that we got to get it in. It doesn't necessarily mean any of those things. Those things kind of, yeah, they merge with each other. We connecting, right? When you don't connect with somebody's spirit, it's like the worlds collide. You're just like every front, no matter what it is. And until you find that connection, because we're all created from the same, right? Until you start finding that, you're going to keep doing this. Right? Back to the article. Desire for attention begins in infancy and is linked to feeding, comfort, and protection. Those are the things that you owe your seed. You understand? Those are the things that you owe your seed. It usually remains a primitive desire throughout life and can go beyond mere satisfaction. mere satisfaction. The focus of attention can be a person, an item, or an idea. The hunger for attention may rise and fall and may be satisfied by friendly and welcoming attention, or by that which is adverse and unpleasant. Okay. The goal is to get attention and not a particular kind of attention. An individual following an authority figure frequently is either looking for attention from the authority or others, or is expressing a desire to give attention. A paradoxical change in the person's opinion or attitude may reflect a change in their source of attention. When a person deeply craves attention, he or she is extremely vulnerable to being influenced or manipulated by the source of attention. Raising the emotional pitch is one way to increase the attention to the attention source and may be a prelude to indoctrination or exploitation. Let me sum that up for you. I was talking earlier about people's posts on social media where you have the booty shakers, the breast bouncers, right? When you have the camel toe deliverers, when you see all of those things, what is it for? What attention are you seeking? You have to look at those things, right? If you are posting any of those things in a very pronounced way, I'll put it that way, right? What are you seeking? Because this is where you used to have to start looking at indoctrination and exploitation. For you, it's fun. You know what men like. So you know what men like. You're getting numbers. You're getting numbers. You're getting likes. But you're getting more than that too. You understand? How many of those people who watch you just enjoy watching you? Like, yo, that's what's up. Yeah, okay, girl. Yeah, back it up. Okay, drop it. Yeah. Right? No harm, no foul. What about the predators? What about the predators? What about the ones who go on and they make your lives and they ask for things? You get things. This goes back to the materialism, right? You get things. They get little bits of information. Predators work in teams. You didn't know that. Predators work with both sexes. You didn't know that. Right? So you sitting there talking to Joe's saying all these fly things, Mike turning up the pressure, right? Here comes Susan. Susan liked that too. Your curiosity about others gets piqued, right? I'm just trying to give you an idea of what this is talking about in terms of this can go left real quick. It can go left real quick. You're having fun. You just doing something that you know they like. And it's fine. There's no judgment here. I'm just simply telling you to take a look at from an attention seeking perspective, right? You're getting the attention. Help me to get to 10,000, y'all, because I can get this. I can do that. Okay. I'm just using this analogy because you're on social media right now. You're probably flipping back and forth because I'm not that interesting. Sometimes it gets a little low in the action. You want more. That's fine. The other part to this is you're not looking at the big picture. You're looking at short term. You're getting angry when people say things that you term to be disrespectful. But for me, that breeds a culture of disrespect. And not necessarily in a malicious intending way to destroy your morale, but in a way that, when I'm here, when I'm making it rain and all that, that's what the culture brings. So now I'm just sitting home and I'm making it rain. I'm making it rain on myself, but I'm like, doing this and making you, hey, yeah, what's up, girl? Yeah, but you're home, you picking them ones back up and you're putting them, back in the stack. You're doing it at home now. That's the only difference. But if you've never been in or seen the culture, right, you really don't have any idea what's happening on the other side of that screen. So if you can use that analogy to everything else in life, right? You have to understand that you are shaping people's mode of, it's like their MO. When you do this, this is the way I act. When you say this, this is the way I act. So there are people who have different responses to the black beard and, the mannequin look, I call it. And again, I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm just telling you what you look like to me. Because you think you look good, because you think you look great, because you think this, doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to think that. And somebody's going to have an opinion about it. We all have opinions about something. So to get upset doesn't make sense. If you're good with it, you be good with it. What are you getting upset? Because I'm not good with it. Because I don't, hey, that's not my thing. Hell, some people like fishing in a lake or a river or a pond. I like being in a boat, a couple 100 feet down. I don't like, people say how relaxing it is. Yeah, I get that. But who said I wanted to relax? Okay, so that's something I can use when I want to relax. When I'm a person who goes out every day and I dress like this and I look like this and I act like this, right? People form an opinion. What opinion do you want people to have of you? Who are you? It goes back to the same thing. Why are you putting eyelashes on? Because it's fashionable. Well, what was wrong with you before? I think you look pretty damn good without them. You think you look pretty damn great with them. But how many other people looking at you like, girl, why? Is it really worth that? Is it really that important that you look like that? Like teenagers, right? Listen. Let me say this. You ever go into a middle school or a high school, right? Everybody looks the same. They got the same hairstyles. They're wearing almost the same gear, right? If you go and run into a place looking for your child, do you know how hard it really is to find your child? Because everybody looks the same. Everybody is looking the same. They got the same hairstyle. They're either wearing the long braids or they got the long hair with this going on and the, all that going on. Jean jackets, hoodies. I'm telling you, it's the hardest thing to do to find your child because everybody looks the same. I'm not saying in a literal sense, everybody. So many people look the same. The music industry. How many artists follow behind and sound like Lil Wayne? Who told you that? Well, why can't you, like my music, I sound like me. I sound like I talk. I just do it harmonically. Unless I'm doing a spoken word piece. But I'm not seeking to sound like somebody else. And I can pretty much imitate a lot of artists, female artists too. I was a big fan of Nina Simone and Nancy Wilson and Patti LaBelle. Back in the 70s, I used to sit on the step and listen to the music in the house and emulate that. Yeah. Yeah, I was younger. I didn't sound like Kermit the Frog and Barry White mix. But I'm just saying that, right? It's like everybody is doing everything the same. Everybody comes along. And why do you want to look like your neighbor? Why do you want to look like your girlfriend? Y'all walk down the street looking like Boxy twins. Like, it's like, where is the naturalness of self? And I'm not talking about natural in terms like you got to wear afro and all. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you looking like somebody who I just watched in a music video. You can't afford that life, and you're living that life, and you're trying to you're trying to justify why you do it. But I just saw Nikki on stage during a show, and she had that on, and you done brought it to the street. Why? I'm just asking the question, and I'm not asking for my cousin. Why? Why do you want to look like every other woman, girl, boy, man? Why? It's a rhetorical question. I don't want the answer. I'm just asking you to ask yourself, why am I looking like the homie? You see this behavior so much more prevalent with men today. It's unbelievable. Men getting locks, right? It wasn't no naturalness, fashionable. Because you look a hot mess when it ain't done. Right? Women, girls, they go get it done. Dudes, that stuff looks like you got an afro and you just. But I'm saying, getting locks for what? I'm just saying, when you look at everybody looking the same, everybody getting the same type of haircut, it's okay to like a haircut. Like, I got this here. I like my sides low, but you know how long it took me to get this back because I shaved for so many years, and then you take shaving for a lot of years on top of the aging process and the hair loss process that naturally happens. I'm good with it. I'm not spraying nothing black in my head so I can look like I have a full head of hair. I don't, damn it. I don't have a full blossoming head full of hair. I got thinning hair on top. Yeah, I use product to keep it strong, to help it grow if that's what it's going to do. But I ain't going to like go to my tattoo artist and say, "Hey, can you give me some form up top?" No, I'm not doing none of that. I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars to have hair implants for what? I can always go clean. I can go either way. It doesn't make a difference for me. It's just how I feel about the look, how it looks. And I don't mean the look for you. I mean how it looks to me. Like when I'm looking in the mirror, how do I feel about the thin hair? I'm good. I got curly hair. My hair has always been curly, right? It's always been that way all my life, which only added to a lot of problems early in age. When you're cute, light skin, and you're in the age of the light skin, dark skin conflicts that people have. I was called white boy, all that stuff like that. So don't stop telling me that I'm descendants of African slaves, because you have no evidence to support that. You can't prove that. So hush. I'm not a descendant of slaves, right? Whole different discussion. But again, it goes back to attention seeking, because somebody will jump in and say something slick. And again, you have no evidence of that. I was already here. My lineage was already here. Don't make me something that I'm not, but that's what people do. But people have the right to do that when they see you present in a particular way. I don't present in a way of an African. So anywho, an enslaved African, an African. Africans were here. Indian were here. They were reclassified as such. You got to know some things first before you start trying to say what it is, right? Don't call me African American. Back back to the article. It is important for our, because we're done at 11. So I'll be doing this show Monday through Friday, 10 to 11. It is important for our emotional management and personal growth to appreciate our own attention seeking. Appreciate our own. And that's why I keep, repeating that this is not a bash. It's a matter of asking yourself why. Why? I mean, just think, if you saw me, right? You saw me every time you saw me on live, I look like this, right? And then one day I came on live and I had the whole Blackbeard thing going on. I don't know about you, but first thing that would come to my mind is why. If you saw me here and then out in the street saw me with the whole Blackbeard thing going on, what would you say? If you saw me here with the black stuff going on and in the street and none of this going on, and vice versa. You understand what I'm saying? What would be your thought? For me, it's a matter of a dislike for self in terms of being comfortable with what you look like, with who you are. I got bags under my eyes. I be grinding, man. Right? That is what it is. I'm not going to go get some shots to suck that out and start spending hundreds of dollars to get rid of it. Just get some damn rest. Right? I'm not going to start getting what they call the little webs here, whatever they call it over here, and go get some to. Why? For what? I'm not going to do that. Soon all this will start. Listen, I'm 65, right? Those things are on their way at some point. I don't know when they're coming. They come. I earned it. I lived to be 65. I celebrate it. I'm happy. Can you say the same? Getting a little. I just do a little more work. I'm not that active in pushing for, the 6 anymore. I'm good with a 4.5 a K. I'm good with that. Right? I earned it. But I still stay fit. I still keep it to a minimum because I know that if it goes beyond a certain point, that it becomes an issue, a health issue. Once it becomes a physical health issue, it turns into a mental health issue, and so on and so forth. You have to understand that. But it's very stressful when you try to present yourself to others so others will think something about you that is more pleasing to them. I'm not the same. I'm good. I don't care if you like me or not. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you don't like me. It doesn't matter to me. That doesn't mean that I'm going to treat you some kind. Listen, I'm the most loyal, loving, and caring person you'll ever meet in your life. I don't invest my energy into caring. I don't. Because the more you care about how somebody thinks and feels about you, and what I'm saying is, I project myself as being a positive person. I want you to know that I am a positive person. I will emit that from my spirit. But I don't put energy into being this way because I need for you to see me this way. I want you to see the authentic person. I'm authentic. I'm not trying to be a fake. I'm not trying to be a fraud. I'm not trying to be anything other than who I am. I continue to tweak myself, because I have to also understand others, right? I don't want to present myself to others as being closed-minded. So I'm always open. I'm always engaging other people. I'm always listening to other people. That's not me changing who I am. That's me being a human. That's me understanding humanity and the needs of humanity as well. So if you want to, if you want to, have debate about it, you have to ask yourself, what are you debating? What are you really debating? You're debating my perception. You're debating my position. But why? Have you looked at your life authentically? Because that's what it comes down to. How authentic are you within you when you present yourself to others? What I do is what I do. Who I am is who I am. When I engage people in the capacity that I've conditioned myself to do so as. And I'm not putting energy into caring about whether you like me or not. Somebody's always got something to say, man. You need to understand that. Somebody's going to always find one thing that they just don't like about what you said. Now, how that determines the outcome, what this relationship is going to look like moving forward is a whole different discussion to have. But somebody's going to always find something to dislike about you. Right? If our need for attention is generated, back to the article, by such means as apparent generosity, false modesty, or self-deprecation, the result of will be self-deception and less capacity for other productive interactivity, which ultimately that's what I was just saying, right? You are deceiving yourself. You're deceiving yourself. You're reinforcing the deception within yourself because you have convinced yourself to be other than who you are. You don't know how to be a human being because people keep imposing these perceptions of theirs upon you, and you keep making a decision to appease them. Well, you shouldn't be having that focus. When you get into a relationship, if your intention is to make this a better person, you're setting yourself up for failure because you don't have that kind of power. Having influence doesn't give you the power to change anybody. You're just influencing the thinking. As a clinician, my position is to guide you towards self-discovery. Not to tell you what your problem is, not to even sit down and say, well, what's your problem? No, what's going on with you? Because who made it a problem? Who said what's going on with me is a problem? You? So you want to tell me because I overindulge that I have a problem with drugs? No. I'm having a hard time letting go of my childhood trauma. I'm having a hard time letting go of the loss of this or the loss of that, a person, a thing, whatever it is. I can't, and my only resolve that I have sought is that which is most closest to me. And those who get hurt are the ones who are nearest and dearest to my heart because they're right there. I don't have to go find a stranger to hurt. I got you right there, the one who loves me the most. Come on now. You have to start looking at what it is that you are putting your attention on. My attention stays on me being the best servant that I can be today without religion. I already have a relationship with God. If religion is yours, find it, use it, but don't misuse it. Don't turn around and use part of it because, again, I did a show the other day and I talked about when you look at the conditions today, damn it, don't you tell me the devil ain't winning. There's no religion that has brought any kind of change to this world. Not this life. This is man's world. Regardless of who created, these conditions exist because people are failing to do what it is that they're supposed to be doing, so their condition is better, so they can pass it on. And then you would see why Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Taoism, or anything else is successful. Where? Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. When's the last time you sat on a step and looked around you and you saw the evidence of where the devil ain't winning? You look on the news. Everybody's practicing something. Everybody's all sected out, and nobody is winning because you're too busy battling amongst each other. So what you going to become? Right? Back to the article. Too much or too little attention can be bad for us because of the inefficiency it creates for personal growth. And I told you, when you watch my show, Daddy's Right Here Live, right, every Sunday at 10 o'clock, or when you go to my Sabir Aleem educational station on YouTube, it's all about personal growth and development, right? Aiding fathers to improve their relationships between the children and or the mother of the children. It's about personal growth. It's a whole lot of people are just stuck, keep gathering in information from all around, from social media, and making that a foundation of living. This is not a foundation of living. Social media is not a foundation of living. I have less likes than just about every platform. I'm fine with that. I still have to do my duty. I still have to continue being the servant that I am, because that's who I am. I'm not looking for likes. I'm trying to help somebody, because helping others helps me. Plain and simple. Back to the article. On the other hand, learning capacity can be increased. Here we go. If we can learn how to examine our desire for attention and keep it under control. This learning requires sincerity, humility, effort, discipline, and common sense. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Common sense. We have all been lied to. We have all fallen for the banana in the tailpipe. We have all fallen for the Jedi mind trick. We have all fallen for it. Everything that you think you know to be the truth is a lie. Everything. Hence the reason why you have to focus on you. I'm okay with telling you, don't call me an African American. I'm okay with telling you, you're not going to have a crap game on this block, and I ain't calling the police. I don't have a problem telling you that. When you look at most of the black communities, they've become that way because you've either been complicit, implicit, or solicit. Mind your business. Don't snitch. That's relevant to the criminal code. If I ain't part of being a criminal, you're damn right I'm going to tell. You think I'm going to be afraid of any man? I'm going to let some man who took somebody else's life or brought harm to somebody else, you think I'm going to let him keep me in prison? No. No. You think because you about it that we don't all have the potential? Each and every one of us has the potential. All of us do. I ain't got to be no affiliate to step up, to protect my family, to protect my community, to make it safe for everybody else. You so damn tough. Why don't you do that? Why don't you make this block safe for everybody on this block? Why don't you protect this block? Why don't you protect my family? I'm just saying, right? Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You have to act this way in order for people to think you're tough, because you roll 30, 40 deep. That makes you tough. I roll solo and have been all of my life. I ain't had a physical confrontation since 1977. Because I'm going to tell you outright, if you're going to do something, don't do it around me. Don't do it around me. I'm not holding your stuff and my own. I'm not doing it. You a real one? Where the real ones at when we got all these killings going on? Where the real ones at? Where are they? Where are all the real ones? Because if it's dying time, it's dying time. Death is life. If it's happening on your block, how long do you think it's going to be coming to you? I'm just saying. And listen, I ain't no tough guy, but don't get it twisted. Every last one of us has the potential. You just choose to live that lifestyle. That's the only difference. Everybody has the potential to do the same thing you're doing. Ain't about being built like that, because we all built like that, because we all have fight or flight. It's natural. It's natural. We know what to do. We know what to do. As human beings, we're created as such. Fight or flight. Got nothing to do with being a coward. Cowards are these dudes that you see running around in these streets with these uniforms on, right? Calling themselves ICE. That's what I've seen. Cowards are the ones who run down the street, automatic weapon, spraying everybody because they want everybody to see them that, yeah, they saw it in the movie. They saw it in the movie. Yeah, they was riding down the street. That's what, watch what you see. So when you talk about attention seeking, you got to take this to a whole nother level. Shooting like this. That's some TV stuff, man. You about it? Handle your business with that person. Why are you bringing harm to everybody else? That's a coward. That's a coward. It's attention-seeking behavior. Because I can tell you, having worked in corrections for 30 years, in the prison and in community corrections, most of these dudes ain't even about that. They got caught up in it. They have an obligation. It's just like anybody else. When you're an affiliate, you got a job. You don't do your job, you got to go. And the way you got to go ain't always going to be a favorite way. I'm telling you, most of these dudes don't want to do this. Most of these dudes ain't into that. But it's either them or you. When you live in the street that's riddled with affiliation, right? You don't have anybody else protecting you. I didn't come home and tell my mother about the fights that I was having as a child. I didn't run home and tell my mother about, the clashes we were having with whites. I can't even call it a clash because we were literally being attacked as children, elementary school, having white teens, white adults chasing us with hockey sticks, throwing rocks and bottles at us when we were on the car. I wasn't going to go tell my mother what. Go tell her what? What was she going to go do? Defeat the entire culture? No. These young men have to walk up and down the streets every day, hoodies on. What do they call them other things they put on? The shiesties and all that, right? To be unknown. It's like women walking around in those not be recognized for the purpose that God himself sent her here for. He didn't send a woman here to Adam to be invisible. What religion teaches that? Why? What religion teaches that a woman shouldn't be standing at the podium delivering a message to parishioners. What religion does that? Where did God say that woman was irrelevant? He wouldn't have never sent her if she had to sit and be silent. He wouldn't have never sent her if she had to be invisible. What kind of sickness are y'all following, man? That you're not even looking at and taking ownership for what is written. Oh, because, well, God. No, God didn't write that. Man wrote that. But we don't. See, that's what's. So where is the freedom? I'm just saying. Where's the freedom? Where's the protection? Where is it? That's all I'm saying to you, man. This is about personal growth. Stop falling prey to everything that is said and stop not acknowledging the misinformation, the confusion. I'm doing this article. I don't agree with everything in the article. That's why I'm giving you my clinical experience. I'm giving you my personal experience, and I'm just summarizing what this article reflects. Don't mean I'm in agreement with everything, because if I don't agree with it, I'm gonna say I don't agree with it. I'm giving you the article's perspective. I'm giving you the author's perspective or something. You have to because this is where it talks about common sense. Listen, this learning requires sincerity, right? If you telling me that I should be this and I should be that, where's the sincerity in your own personal application to your life with this religion? Sincerely. If you've read the book, the Muslim is required to read the Quran every year. Others read that portions. Others have obligations too. Sincerely tell me that you really believe that this book is God's work. It's man's interpretation. People, come on. Be sincere. Man wrote it with his own hand. Man wrote it with his own hand. That's sincerity. That's man's interpretation of what somebody said God said. Or what somebody said the prophet said. The prophets said. Why was there never a woman prophet? That's Eve. Eve brought message to man. She's not listed in the. There's no woman listed. Mary is not even significant to anything other than the Quran. But why only in the Quran is Mary significant? Mary, mother of Jesus, whole surah in the Quran. But all I'm saying to you is, it says here, this is about common sense. How did we all become descendants of slaves? How? When human beings were already in the so-called America. Did you vote when they said we were going to be called Afro-Americans? Did you vote when they said we were going to be called African Americans? Did you vote when because I'm 65 years old. Damn it, I haven't gotten a ballot for anything that involves us as a people. Who's making this damn decision for us? Who's in charge here? God's in a man's world. God's in a man's world. You got to get the album. The album drops any day now. God's in a man's world. And that's not G-O-D apostrophe S, it's G-O-D-S. When you truly understand your creation, right, you will understand the statement, I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worshiping except God himself. It's acknowledging there are, in fact, other gods, but there's no God worthy of worshiping except this one God, which we all, if we're believers, bow down to. It's a song on there titled Bow Down. Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is common sense. Common sense. Don't just sit down and say you believe something and don't question content. Don't sit down and just go along. We're doing too much cowing. right? In life, doing too much cowing. Yeah, doing too much cowing of people, right? Uh, so confrontation. We're gonna do confrontation tomorrow. We at the hour now, right? But thank you for tuning in for the first episode of Spot. Like I said, this Spot is a show that I used to do years ago. Go to my severely educational station on YouTube if you've never seen any of my shows before. Listen, Monday through Friday, you'll be seeing me 10 a.m. Join me for another episode of Spot. I'm your host, as always, Sabir Aleem. We'll do confrontation tomorrow. Yeah, we want to do confrontation tomorrow because you want to see attention seeking first. So you have an idea. When we start talking about confrontation, you'll start looking at the things that you do to seek attention, what messages you send and what messages you get back. And is that really what you want? And when you get what you don't want, how do you respond or react to it? When you get what you want, how do you respond? You really got to look at all these things, man, because at the end of the day, it's your life. It's what you're actually getting. It's actually shaping and molding you. It's turning you into whatever it is that you don't want to be. It's just bringing all those things forth. I'm your host, as always, Sabir Aleem. Just make sure you check me out on aleemforyou.net. Make sure, man. Just, man, listen, do this, do it for you, man. Do it for you. It's about being better today, better in this moment than you were yesterday. Each day is just an opportunity, man, to do that. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. Y'all keep putting stuff off, man. Like you know what the script says. You should know what the scripture says. That's what you should focus on. Don't worry about what the script is, that's already put in place for you. When you got here, the script came with you, didn't come in pocket or in hand or in your parents' hand, but the script is there, man. It's already been determined, when you're going to roll. So you need to stop acting like you know when you're going to roll, because you don't know when you're going to roll. I'm your host, as always, severely. Hey, man, listen, I'll see y'all tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Make sure you join me. Peace.